Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. It is Saturday morning, Multifamily Unplugged, and I am joined by my co-host Moose this morning. Moose, what's up?
How you doing, guys? Glad to be back, man. After being out for a week, woo!
Yeah,
Feels so
boy,
good to be back in the saddle.
you were down, weren't you? Hey, listen, couple of things here this morning, everybody. We are our guest had something come up and couldn't join us this morning. So at the last minute, we reached out to a couple of people to be on. We've got Matt Messick with us and Chris O'Connor. You guys want to say hi real quick?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Matt can't get his camera working, so we're just going to have to listen to what he has to say. And boy, he's going to have a lot to say this morning. Sounds like he was out late last night.
Right?
Right? He says. All right, little housekeeping this morning. Hey, go wake somebody up right now. Let them know that we're on. It's Saturday morning. We are going to wind up, I know for a fact we're going to wind up in some rabbit hole this morning, but go stick a cup of coffee in somebody's hand, wake them up, get them to join us. Remember, if you like what you hear here, go out to social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, like us, love us, follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube. Help us out, build the ratings. But if you have something you want to talk about this morning, this is kind of an open format today. So throw something up in the chat or show up on Zoom and we'll let you in. And looking forward to some conversation this morning. Carl, what's been going on with you? You kind of been down for the count here the last couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah, I caught the variant, man. 2 weeks ago, let's think about this for a minute. 2 weeks ago, Sunday, tomorrow, I was diagnosed with COVID, so I got knocked out, man. But I'm coming out of it after 2 weeks. I'm past it. I'm no longer contagious, and I'm gonna go this week and get another test. But yeah, man, it's really hit me hard. But I'm feeling much better now, and looking forward to a good conversation today.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have something to talk about, Mike, but I didn't realize Chris was going to be on here too. But I got a topic if you don't have any direction that you want to go.
Yeah, no, we can definitely talk about that. That's fine. And I just want to say I'm glad that you're better and up and around again because, man, you sounded like hell for a couple of days. I was concerned.
Yeah, no, I'm beyond it now. But I'm just getting my. I have a little bit of a cough. I'm just getting my strength back, but feeling much better. Thanks, Mike.
Well, you look good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Hey, let me just say this. There's some listeners out on Facebook this morning. If you guys want, if you've got something you want to know, you want to ask a question, I can't guarantee we have an answer, but, between the four of us, we should know something anyhow. Maybe where to go get a good cup of coffee or something. But if you have something you want to say or you want to join us, you can either chime in on the chat on Facebook or join us on Zoom this morning. So go ahead, Carl. What do you think? Well, here, let's do this first. Matt, why don't you jump in, introduce yourself, let people know who you are, what you do, and why we thought it'd be a great idea for you to be here this morning.
Hi, my name is Matt Messick. I've been a full-time real estate investor for the last 7 years. I do residential fix and flips. In the past, I did a lot of gut rehabs in Chicago, and now I focus more on buying bank-owned properties out of state around the country. And yeah, I've done close to 100 flips in over 20 states in the last 7 years.
Wow, those are big numbers, Matt. I'm impressed. I was impressed when I had you on Insider Secrets, and you definitely have a system and a science down. That's for sure. And I got to meet your partner a couple of weeks ago, and that was nice. You guys obviously have something good happening. So interested to hear a little bit more about that. Hey, I got to tell you, Carl, I was on this podcast yesterday called Uncensored with three guys, and let me tell you, it was uncensored. These guys are no holds barred. And I told my story, and in the midst of telling my story, these guys just kind of like beat the crap out of me a little bit. It was kind of funny, but it was good. It was a lot of fun. But hey, Chris, why don't you introduce yourself? Let people know who you are, what you do, and How come we had you here?
Sure. Sorry, it's so dark, but we finally are getting some rain here in the Twin Cities, and it's just, I usually use the ambient light on my virtual meetings, but today it's just dark out. My name's Chris O'Connor. I've been in the investment business since 1987. Done a little bit of everything, but my specialty really is tax abatement. In other words, structuring whatever you own, whether it's real estate or stocks or whatever, to generate tax-free income. So that's kind of my bailiwick. And that's what I'm passionate about, that and estate planning. So that kind of gives you an idea of who I am.
Nice. Glad you guys are here this morning.
Yeah, thanks for being here, guys, last minute. So I just want to open it up. A couple things. This is for my own personal thing too, because moving forward, Chris, you kind of planted the seed a couple of weeks ago on our show when you were talking about your idea of buying Airbnb or short-term rentals in areas that you want to go visit, like maybe the mountains or the Caribbean or whatever. And that really started my wheels turning, because I've got 3 kids that are teenagers, and I just love that idea. I love the idea of buying 2 or 3 or 4 houses in different areas. Maybe one in the mountain. I'm in Chicago. I think I'll always have a residence in Chicago. Maybe one in the eastern seaboard for me. I like that eastern, South Carolina, North Carolina. I love the Caribbean. Maybe one in the Ozark Mountains. Where we can. It's almost like a family plan where we can buy a house for each of the kids. I have 3 kids, and we could buy a house for each of the kids in a place that we mutually agree on that we'd like to go and visit, and have it pay for itself. Have it generate at least enough revenue or enough income, on short-term rentals, where there's Airbnb or the other, I forget what the other one's called, but there's another one, higher luxury one out there, where it could basically cover itself, and we'll have places to go and visit. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And then also it's appropriate because Matt has a knack for finding properties, right? And he has a knack for finding properties across the country, which is what we're basically talking about. So I just want to open up that dialogue and just have a conversation about that, because I'm excited about that. I mean, I really want to, it's not that I'm going to do that, my plan is in the next 5 or 6 years to buy 3 or 4 pieces of property in different areas of the country.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, just to give you a little background, I used to own an oceanfront property out in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, which was great. I mean, it was, 150 foot of oceanfront on Nantucket Sound. It was about a $5 million home. But the problem becomes when you have 4 kids and some like it and some don't. Now, what do you do from an estate planning process? And this really gives me the idea, and Mike and I have talked about this, about starting with the end in mind. And so here's a shameless plug. If you haven't got Exit Plan, Mike's book, I would highly suggest it. But in any event,
that's why we had him on right there.
Yeah.
That's exactly why, right there.
Just send me the gift card in the mail, will you, Mike?
Yeah.
No, not at all. And but the point is that if you have one property, you're kind of stuck, and some kids might like it. I mean, 2 of my kids loved it. 2 of them were eh. And so, Carl, I really like your idea of buying individual properties and letting your kids kind of pick where you want it. So long story short, that home is no longer, I don't own that anymore. And I'm going to take what your suggestion is, Carl, and look at other properties and talk to each one of my kids. Now, it would be nice for all of them to come to one place, but, if, as you guys know, when you have, a lot of kids, it's like herding squirrels to get them to come, one place at one time, because of, they've got a life too. So the whole idea of multiple properties really, really appeals to me also. And that's one of the reasons why I brought it up a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and I actually sat down with my kids. My kids are teenagers, and I said, listen, you guys, I want to do this as a family plan. I want you guys to pick an area that you want. Here's my suggestions. I want you guys to pick an area that you'd want to go to. And the other thing is, it's also going to teach them about real estate, and a little bit about business, because obviously, when you're talking about a short-term rental business, it is a business, right? And so, those different aspects. So that's the other motivation for myself. And also selfishly, I want to be able to go and say, hey, let's go to the Ozarks for the weekend, or let's go to Hilton Head for the weekend, or whatever. So that's the other part of it. And then also put them on a path of starting to own real estate, because as all of us on this call know, true wealth, people that are truly wealthy, they own real estate. There's a couple things they do. And one of them is they own real estate. So that's one of the other things I want to share with my kids. And Matt, I'd love to have your input about, how we would go about, maybe finding good deals or finding, deals in different areas. Because you and your partner, Thomas, who I have the pleasure of working with, in a business as well. You guys do it all over the country. So I'm really curious about what you have to say about this.
Yeah, he got one in Hilton Head Island in South Carolina that was he's been Airbnb for almost 2 years now. It's going really well for him. And we had a few others that popped up. There was one in Cherville, Tennessee, that's close to Dollywood, that we had looked at. Put an offer in. That one didn't work out, but no, like anything that's close to like water, close to the lake, and there's different Airbnb analytic tools out there that you can look at to see kind of if it's a good Airbnb market or not. But yeah, another big thing is that if people travel there, year round, if it's a tourist spot year round, because then you want to make sure that you're not just making money part of the year, not the the other part of the year. But yeah, we have different ones pop up at different times, and anything that's kind of close to a lake or a tourist attraction or anything like that, are really desirable properties to have for Airbnb.
So do you have to have an account with Airbnb to tap into those metrics, or how do you actually go through that process?
No, there's different analytic tools out there that you could look at. I'm not as familiar with it as my partner Thomas, but there's also property management companies that specifically are geared towards Airbnb and vacation rentals. So there's a lot of tools out there if you're, because the last thing you want to do is just kind of buy a random house that you think might make a good vacation rental house. Like you really want to do your due diligence, make sure it's in the correct market and it's going to work. And obviously like the bed and bath count is different in different areas as far as how often it gets rented out and whatnot. But yeah, just like any other real estate investment, you got to make sure you do your due diligence. But if you do that, the numbers can come out like very favorable.
Yeah.
Well, one of my partners on some apartment deals that we're working on right now is what they call a super host. Is that the term, Matt?
Yeah, after you get to like a certain amount of bookings, then you become a super host as long as your
Right.
rating's above a certain threshold.
Right. And yeah, so he's a super host. So he has access to all those analytics. So Carl, if you need to look for something, and then I have another buddy who owns he lives in Florida, down in Melbourne, and he owns real estate up in Asheville in the mountains in North Carolina. I think it's North Carolina.
Yeah.
Not too
Yeah.
far from my buddy Jack up there.
Yeah, Asheville's supposed to be a great area, but and that's the concern is like, how do you pick an area? And by the way, Lori Wyatt, Mike is going to be on the show in a couple weeks. She's
Right.
she's done really well in her local area. She owns a couple of mansions. As a matter of fact, Matt, I think that's where you and I met. I think at one of her mansions a couple years back.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. She rents them out to corporate. She's got these beautiful Burnham mansions, at 7,000 square foot, fully renovated, fully furnished, and she hosts parties there. I actually hosted a weekend event at one of them. However, she's local. I think she has 2 or 3 of them, but they're just in the Chicago area, which is okay. However, part of my motivation and the inspiration from you, Chris, was let's find a place in the Caribbean, the U.S. Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico. Let's find some place where a destination that we'd want to go to, maybe every 90 days or go spend a couple of months there during the winter. And, when you're in Chicago, if you just do a 300-mile radius of Chicago, to Matt's point, you might end up in Wisconsin or along, Lake Michigan shoreline in Michigan. However, do those places rent in the winter? You know what I mean? They may rent in the summer, but do they rent in the winter? So we were looking at outside of that area because, to Matt's point, you want to find something that people are going to want to rent year round to keep the cash flowing.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that, I'm trying to do with my kids, and maybe I should tell you this story. I don't know if you know who Peter Thiel is, but he was one of the originators of PayPal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, he's a relative, I think he's in the 40s now, but when he started PayPal, he did a Roth IRA. And when they first started, he took a lot of his PayPal stock and put it in a Roth IRA. And of course that grows. And when you take the money out, it's completely tax-free.
Right.
So, and he's done some other investments with other, venture capital type deals. He's got over $7 billion in his Roth IRA right now.
Wow.
So
that's crazy,
I
right?
mean, and the interesting thing is that it will pass on to his kids, and that will be tax-free. So one of the things I'm doing with my kids is saying, look, let's do a Roth. You can put your down payment and your units, you have to have a independent custodian to do real estate in a Roth or any kind of qualified plan. But you put your LLC, the units of your LLC in a Roth. And if you have fractional units, now there's of course a discount because you can't sell, a fraction. I can't sell 25% of it, of your portfolio, because it's one property, like you could just a stock portfolio. So you can take a little bit of a discount and get more of those units into your Roth. And then when your kids retire, now they can, if they decide to sell it or do whatever they're going to do with it, they can generate tax-free income. So in 30 years, when they're ready for retirement and the Airbnb starts throwing off income, now they've got completely tax-free income. So that's exactly what I'm going to do with my kids.
So, that's interesting. And I like the whole IRA, self-directed IRA deal. The challenge is that if Carl was to go buy a place with a self-directed IRA, he can't use it for himself. There's some of those
Self-dealing issues.
Yeah, non-qualifiers, right?
Well,
So,
you actually can if you go with the right custodian, because what they'll do is it'll just buy the units of the LLC or the sub S or however you structure it. But if you structure it, in a Roth right now, if you're over 59 and a half, you can put $26,000 of value per year. So let's say, for example, you find a property that you want to buy and it's towards the end of the year, you can put $52,000 down payment and own that property. And after 5 years, you can start taking that income completely as tax-free. So, there are ways around that. And if you have to go to a custodian who is familiar with that type of work. It's not hard, but you're not going to go to your typical US bank or, not that I'm bashing US bank, but you can't just find it at a typical custodian.
Yeah, and for me, it wouldn't be so much for the cash flow for me. It would be more, for me, the strategy would be, buy a property that sustains itself, so none of us are coming out of pocket. And if there's positive cash flow, great, we put that in reserve or account or whatever.
Mhm.
And it would be a place for us to go, to vacation, where we wouldn't
Right.
have to, if we're going to go for a month, we're not going to drop $5,000 or $10,000, paying for somebody else's rental. We would, we'd basically be renting from ourselves. And I'm sure, I really didn't think through it, Chris, and this is good that you bring this up, how to structure it and how to, write it off, because I'm sure, even if you're renting it yourself, there could be some write-offs or whatever, but that's, that I would definitely want to take a look at that. And right now I've set up, my kids are under 18, so I've set up custodial trusts for my children.
Mhm.
So that we're dumping money in there now. It ends up my sister is the custodian, or the trustee, I guess is what you call it. But
Yeah.
the main idea for me would be not necessarily to produce cash for myself, but just to have it sustain itself, let us ride the appreciation, and if it does produce income, have that go to the kids.
Yeah, and eventually it will, because you'll eventually pay off the property. So there's a couple things you can do. If you have minors, that you can pay them actually a salary, so then they can contribute to a Roth or a Roth 401k, where they can put more money aside, and then it can be matched depending on your company and so forth. And then if you are over 59 and a half, like I said, you can do 26,000 a year. And if you have a spouse, then you can double that. So, over a course of December to January, you can knock out $104,000 if you have the cash to put into that type of thing. So
really, so 26,000 if you have a spouse?
No, 26,000 individually.
Oh, wow. Hey, I heard you could get a mail order bride for like 10 grand, so that's worth it. I could get a mail order bride.
You and Mike can get married, and then
Hey,
that'll be legal.
Listen.
Mike's not my type.
Hey,
Yeah.
a mail
Me
order
either.
bride for 10 grand. Come on, you're on the air. Be careful what you say. But here's what I want to know. Can I buy that with my IRA?
Well,
Expense.
Matt, what'd you say, Matt?
It's a business expense.
Boy, is it.
okay.
That's
You
the
were
young
right,
guy
Mike.
talking. That's
You
the
were
young
right,
guy
Mike, about
talking.
rabbit holes.
Yeah. Hey, what's this scene? You remember the scene from Wolf of Wall Street when the father comes in? What's this E&J Entertainment?
Okay,
was
moving right on. He
Hey,
whiz.
Matt, do you use self-directed IRAs in any of the flips that you guys do right now?
I have some investors who invest with me through their self-directed IRA. I have a handful of them, and then about like 4 years ago, my dad had a retirement account that was kind of just sitting dormant from a previous job he worked at, previous employer, and I had him invest with like a contractor in a flip that he was doing. And then actually my dad just retired about a month or two ago. So now he's getting that paid back, and now he's going to be able to pull it out. And he, generated all that interest over the last 4 years, tax free, which is, the best thing about, doing a self-directed, Roth IRA account.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, it's amazing.
I will go ahead, Carl.
No, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I will get on my soapbox a little bit because, as Matt, you said, it was generated tax-free, but it really isn't. It's generated tax-deferred. And here's the rub. If you look at what's going on with our government, and I'm not bashing our government because the United States is the best place to live in the world. However, with the administration that's in there and the politics in general, I'm not Republican, Democrat, or anything. I'm just looking at it from a tax standpoint. Numbers don't lie. And ultimately, at close to $30 trillion of federal debt, there's going to be a time in the near future, within 10 years, that Social Security and Medicare will not have the funds to continue. So there's really three things that can happen to help solve that problem. Number one, the economy can grow out of it, which it would take an astronomical amount of growth over and above what we've done before. So that's not a reality. A government can quit spending money, which, as you know, they just are in the process of passing that infrastructure bill for another $1.3 trillion, or they can raise taxes. And we already know that President Biden is intent on raising taxes. So one of the problems with those that hold traditional IRAs, 401ks, what we call tax qualified money, is you're really having an account that has a second owner in it. And that second owner is the United States government. So what happens when, Matt, your dad gets to be 80 years old and all of a sudden the tax bracket goes from 22% to 29%? And now your dad's spending is, the money coming out of his IRA is a lot less. People don't realize that. And all of a sudden, too, that now he's beyond the threshold for his provisional income for Social Security now to be taxed. So there's a lot of considerations when looking at what's going on with taxes, because think about this. Think about how much money we all have paid in taxes over the years. Add that up. And then, if you could have invested that on your own, what would that be worth today? Well, just the four of us, I bet I could retire on all that money that we've paid in taxes over the years if I invested it frugally in a tax-free environment. So sorry to get on my soapbox, but
No,
that's one of the biggest problems I think there is out there today.
Yeah, don't be sorry at all. I mean, I think it's all good stuff, right? And it's that knowledge stuff. How do you use it?
Well, and Chris, you bring up another good point. The four of us are entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? And the four of us, none of us are dependent on. We're not going to sit around and wait for the government to pay to pay out our bills as we get older. So, that's one of the beautiful things about real estate. And, and that's, I mean, obviously this show is about multifamily, real estate is, it doesn't matter. Here's the thing, and you guys know my background. We've talked to a lot of different types of people out there and coached a lot of people. I don't care who you are. No, never was I ever at a closing when someone said to me, oh, by the way, what fraternity were you in? Or what college did you go to? Or what degree do you have? Or what did your dad do for a living? Or where'd you grow up? Nobody gives a rat's rear end about that, right? And nobody asked me how old I was, right? Nobody asked me, I mean, it doesn't matter. So the beautiful thing about real estate, besides the fact that they're not making any more and that there's always going to be people that need rentals and opportunities out there, is anybody can get into it, no matter how old you are, what your education level is, what the color of your skin is, your religion, doesn't matter. And through real estate, you can build a base. And that's what I go back to what I said before. I've studied wealthy people, and I've had wealthy people in my family. They all own real estate, period. I don't care who you are. There's a component of their wealth strategy that is real estate, and there's a reason for that. And yeah, I mean, should we keep our eye on what's going on in Washington and how the tax codes? Yeah. However, I come from the mindset of I'm going to take my own destiny into my own hands, and I'm going to go out and create, my own base, because I'm not going to rely on who the hell knows who's going to be in office in 20 years or what the politics are going to be. And that's one of the things I love about real estate is no matter who you are, you can start right now with whatever you've got. And if you have a desire to get into real estate, you can do it.
Yep, absolutely. And let me just, I want to pigtail on that a little bit. So, first of all, that I created a lot of success in the real estate space and I lost it all, right? And now I'm back rebuilding. And part of, I'm doing my first multifamily deal. We're getting ready to close a deal down in Tampa, 40 units. And God, I'm as excited as hell to be back in the game and to be building out. So shameless plug, I say that for a couple of reasons, because if you're looking to get in the real estate space, this is a great opportunity as a passive investor to join us and join my team in what we're doing down there. So if people have questions about that, definitely direct message me on that. And then the other thing is, Matt, and I want to know your thoughts on this, but this week they kicked the can down the road again, and they pushed the eviction moratorium and the foreclosure moratorium out to the end of October. End of October, not even just 30 days. So, I mean, I don't think that's good for us as a country, economy, investor. So Matt, any thoughts around that issue?
Yeah, they just keep doing that, and I feel like it needs to stop at some point. It's obviously not good for us, now, but it will be eventually, because when they finally do kind of, pull that, the floodgates are going to open as far as foreclosures and a lot of other things. That's kind of my space. So I've been waiting on that. Inventory has ticked up a bit, but it's still, obviously there's a lot being held back. But the default rates are really behind right now. But you can't foreclose on a ton of people until they lift those moratoriums. But I'm kind of just biding my time, waiting for that to happen. I feel like they're probably going to extend it through the end of the year, and then hoping at the beginning of next year they're going to stop doing that.
I have that friend of mine who's that foreclosure attorney, and he's been doing foreclosures for Aquin and Midland and all the big servicers for the last 10 years. At one point, he was doing between 800 and 1,000 closings a month.
Wow.
He represents the banks, right? And he said to me, we were out to dinner a few weeks ago, and he said to me, he goes, man, my business is like 15% of where it was. He goes, if they release this foreclosure forbearance, he goes, I should be back to 75% of my volume within 60 days. He said there's, God, what was the number? Well, I can't remember the number. It was a really big number. the banks are sitting on right now of people they need to foreclose on and can't.
I've heard it's about 3.5 million.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Pretty big attorney just told me last week that there's going to be about 10 million foreclosures over the next 18 months.
Yeah, I think that's the number I heard too.
Wow.
And then Georgia last month from the previous month, their foreclosures went up 30%. And then even for me, business went down a lot. We were averaging a closing a week, like, a new acquisition every week. And then we hadn't bought anything since December 1st. And then we finally just, bought again about a month ago. And then we bought 3 houses in the last 3 weeks now. We got another 7 or 8 closings coming up. So inventory is coming back, but it's going to, when they lift that foreclosure moratorium, finally, it's going to the floodgates are going to open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, does anybody know what the stats are? Is that mostly single family homes we're talking about? Are we talking about also multifamily, or any idea there?
I know residential for sure. I'm not too sure about multifamily.
Yeah. So residential being 4 flats or less.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, Mike, listen, I got to take my hat off to you because, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I'm really proud of you. I mean, I don't mean to be, blow smoke up your skirt, but seriously, man, I mean, you're back in the game, and I know what's going to happen. You're going to get this first one under your belt, and then you're going to get on a roll, and you're going to get back on a roll, and that goes back to my statement about the people, the 4 of us on this call. You can't keep a good man down, and if you've done it once, you can do it again. You know what I mean? And it's I know that fast forward a year or 2 from now, you're going to be back on top of that hill where you're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of units, under your umbrella because of you know how to do it, and you've got a desire to do it, and you're back in the game. You know what I mean? As opposed to sitting on the sidelines, waiting for your Social Security check to come in. You know what I mean?
How did you know?
Mr. Positive. Mike, you're supposed to say, thank you, Carl. I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah.
Chris, that's his way of saying thank you with the big middle finger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Hey, listen,
Morawski.
I'm going to tell you what, I thought Clubhouse was crack house, right? But this TikTok shit, this stuff is crack house. Hey,
What?
oh wait, there's I come across this video, and this girl goes like this. She goes, oh, you want to see my my certificate? I got my vaccine. She goes like this.
We can't see
Put
you,
the
Mike.
phone
You're
down.
frozen.
This is supposed to be about
Oh,
real
am I?
estate.
I can't.
Yeah,
be
you're frozen.
I
You're
can't
not
be
moving.
frozen.
Yeah, you are.
You're not frozen for me.
No.
I saw it.
Yeah, everybody saw it. I just saw it on Facebook. Everybody saw
Carl, I'll
it.
send
Oh,
you
wow.
a text. I'll send you a picture.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, you're
Am I
frozen, Mike. But I like the Mike. I like the Irish, the leprechaun there. If you're representing the Irish, thank you for that.
Yeah, back when I could run, man. This was I did the Shamrock Shuffle. Let me tell you what I did this morning. Right, I went
Is this real estate related?
no, I went.
Then just drop it. Let's talk
Hey,
about real
just because
estate. I want to learn more.
you're old and can't keep up with me.
Well, I'm gonna have another knee replacement here in a month.
God,
Hey, Mike, he plays blind hockey. Give the man some respect.
Yeah.
No, I know. Listen,
Thanks, Carl.
my buddy's in Tokyo right now. He's the captain of the rugby wheelchair team. So listen, there's a lot of guys that can do a lot of stuff. Anyhow, I went to the park this morning.
No.
On the big tire a few times. Worked out for like 45 minutes. You should see that video.
Did your girlfriend like it?
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, listen, we can't all be as lucky as you, Chris.
All right.
All right.
So
Real estate.
Thank you, Carl. Ugh.
So, Mike, what's coming up? So, seriously,
Oh.
you got an event coming up, or what's? I know. I want to hear a little bit about that. So, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I have an event coming up. We actually just pushed the dates, Carl. So September 9th, 10th, and 11th. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Schaumburg. It'll be 3 days, a deep dive into multifamily investing.
Yeah.
We are going to cover everything from how to find the best deals out there, how to build a world-class team and network with people that are going to help you buy into your goals and help you succeed. We're going to talk about how to underwrite deals, how to evaluate deals before you ever even think about underwriting them, and then how to go to contract, how to negotiate, and then the due diligence. And of course, we're going to talk about exit planning throughout the whole process. And we're going to talk about how to raise capital and put the best partnerships together.
Great.
So we're going to do a deep dive for 3 days and teach people how to my commitment is that you'll be able to walk away from this event in September and walk out the door, go do your first deal. And I say that because the very first real estate seminar I ever went to was a Robert Allen seminar. And I don't know if anybody remembers Robert Allen.
Yeah.
Of course.
But he was the guy who was always touted as other people's money, no money down. And the city of St. Louis, or the St. Louis Tribune, took him up on this offer one day, or made him an offer, said, hey, we'll put you in the middle of St. Louis, give you $20, take your wallet, and let's see where you're at come Monday morning. Well, by the end of the weekend, he had bought 4 pieces of real estate and had $4,000 in his pocket, and the world could hardly believe it. But he was one of the first to really make a statement like that. And so I went to his 1-day seminar, and then I bought into his weekend deal, and I went to his weekend deal, and I left there Monday morning. I started going through the classified ads in the newspaper and started making offers over the telephone. This was long before cell phones or emails or any of the stuff that we have today that makes life easier. But I wound up buying a 3 flat in a suburb outside of Chicago from a guy. He held the paper. It was $1,000 down out of my pocket that I borrowed from my mom. So that was my first deal. So I'm committed to people walking away from this seminar and being able to do their first multifamily deal. So
That's awesome. And you remember Carlton Sheets, right? I mean, I remember
yeah.
I bought his program years ago, and it was worth it. You know, I mean, it was worth it. I mean, I still, believe it or not, I still have it somewhere, and it was a good investment because I used, even if it was just 1 or 2 things over the course of my real estate, buying buildings, I saved thousands and thousands of dollars on a couple $100 investment. So, and what did Ben Franklin said? He said the best return you ever get is an investment in yourself. And I believe that, I mean? So, and Dave Lindall's back on the scene too, Mike. Did you see?
Yeah.
Have you seen him recently?
No, I haven't seen him, but he's got a program out there called RE Mentor, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah.
And, one of my coaching clients is in it, and it's. Do you remember years ago? I don't know if you guys remember this, but do you remember Laurel Langmeyer? She had a program called The Table.
The Big Table. She did that with Mark Meyer-Dirk, Bob Proctor, and Laurel Langmeyer. I was the first group that went through that. It was called The Big Table.
Yeah, and she charged $100,000 a year to join that.
125.
Yeah, and we got approved as a vendor just prior to 2008 when the world imploded, and that her deal imploded too at the same time.
Yeah, that was a year-long program. We went to 4 different locations, and we spent a weekend. It was worth it. There were 23 people in that program with me from all over the world, and I met investors. It was worth it. Believe it or not, it was 125 grand, and it was worth it. I actually got my money out of it.
So I have a question. So since Robert G. Allen is dead and he's no longer doing workshops, Mike, how much is your workshop? Is it 125 grand or a paltry 75 grand? And how do I sign up?
My 3-day workshop's $297, and you can go to my website to sign up.
And what is your website?
mycoreintentions.com.
What is that? I'm sorry.
mycoreintentions.com.
So Matt, I want to ask you a question.
Was
You do
that
a lot
a
of
shameless
closing.
plug, Chris?
No, I just wanted to know. And I'm sure other people that are watching and listening want to know also.
Thank you.
So Matt, I got a question for you. You do a lot of closings. What's
Yeah.
the average? What does an attorney charge you for a closing?
Like $500 or $600.
Right. What about the title? I mean, just roughly.
Maybe like 1,000 to 1,500.
Right. Okay. So why did I bring that up? For anybody that's listening, Mike is talking about 3 days of coaching, 3 days of training for less than what you pay an attorney to close a real estate transaction. For less than, and by the way, when you pay that attorney, they do their service. It's done. You don't get anything out of that in the future. And again, I'm telling you right now, if anybody's listening to this and wants to get into real estate or into real estate, and if Mike wasn't sitting here, I'd tell you the same thing. Register for this thing.
Hey.
You're talking about $300. I mean, that's
Hey,
a
you wanna-
dinner out in the night.
Here's something
in
else
Chicago.
crazy too. Here's what else you're going to get. You're going to get my evaluation tool, institutional grade evaluation tool to be able to walk away and start evaluating your own deals. You're going to get a copy of my exit plan book. You're going to get a copy of my ebook, Multifamily Fundamentals. I'm going to throw in a sample LOI, letter of intent, and a PSA, a purchase sales agreement. So, you're going to get a little bit more than just 3 days with me, but you're going to get some physical things you can actually use.
Right. And if you've never invested a nickel in real estate, start with $300 and invest in yourself. Because I'm telling you right now, I mean, I've closed lots and lots of deals. I bought tons of buildings. If I would have had somebody on my first deal that could have held my hand and walked me through it, I would have saved tens of thousands of dollars on my first deal. And again, I'm not going to say anything more because I don't want to turn this into an advertisement. But seriously, if you're listening, you want to get into real estate, invest the money. It'll be the best of money you invest in 2021. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
So what else?
We all got to put money in education, right? We all have to put some money into our education every year.
Mike, I want to correct you. You don't have to.
No.
It's a choice. You don't have to.
It is a choice. You're right.
You can fumble along on your own, and you can go to the closing, and you can make mistakes and try to analyze deals. It's a choice. You don't have to do it. There's lots of people out there that are going to start investing in the next 3 months that don't invest any money in education. And guess what? They lose their ass. I mean, pardon my French. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's not a have to, it's a want to.
Can you say that on this show, ass?
I think I just did.
Matt, chime in here, would you please?
Ass.
Yeah. Did you say
Boy, what a
Carlson
professional group.
No, I've probably invested over $100,000 in my education over the last 7 years. My first thing, I went to a 3-day for like $200. It was like
whose 3 day was that?
The Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of caught the bug. And then I went to another one. There's boot camps. I've like traveled to, conferences in other states. And not only that, it's really on top of the education. It's really about the networking, like the people you meet, and because you learn the best experience from other people's experiences. If you want to learn from your own mistakes or other people's mistakes, because when you learn from someone else, then you know not to make that, and mistakes are really costly. So yeah, I mean, I'm always up. I've been to a ton of different events and divulge a lot of education, and I'm a big proponent of it.
Yeah, Matt, that's a great point. The networking, that's key too. And it's the old adage, right? You can save money, you can keep your money and spend the time to figure it out on your own, or you can spend the money and save the time by having somebody help you do it. What's more valuable, money or time? We all know that. We've all made and lost lots of money in our lives, right? But you're never going to get the time back. So it's worth the money to save the time.
One of the interesting things we recruit for our business, Darlene's business, and one of the things I was talking to some younger kids and said, well, how do I learn this? How do I become proficient at it? And I said, well, you have two choices. You can either go to college and spend, $100,000 to $400,000, or because what do they do in college? They lecture you and you read. I mean, that's basically it, right? Unless you're going to be a chemist or something where you have lab, but they lecture you and you read. Can you do that on your own? Yes. So as I said, the riches are in the niches, right? And so if you're going to do real estate, you got to start somewhere. Why not learn from the best that are out there? And that just makes sense.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
don't spend the money on, underwater basket weaving courses in college that don't get you anywhere,
Did you take that one too, Chris?
I did. I was a certified scuba diver, and I did the underwater basket weaving and
Hey,
underwater hockey.
Listen, I was I love
It's
scuba
really a
diving.
thing.
Love scuba diving.
Yeah, I got certified when I was 13.
Did you really? Wow. Good for
But
you.
we digress.
Do you still scuba dive?
Well, no, because I'm in Minnesota, but that's why I want to go to Puerto Rico, because there's zero taxes there and there's great water and I love to fish, and I hate Minnesota winters now.
Well, I thought Minnesota was the land of 1,000 lakes. Don't you guys don't have lakes you can go scuba diving in? Were they all frozen?
I'll tell you a real quick story. My son and I went to a lake called Christmas Lake here in the Twin Cities. You know what we saw? Weeds. And that's it. There's nothing to see in the Minnesota lakes unless you go up to Superior, and then you have to have a dry suit because it's so dang cold. The water's like 39 degrees all year round, and there's some shipwrecks and stuff. But no, I want to be in 70, even 80-degree water where there's tropical fish, and you go have a pina colada on the beach afterwards.
Jeez, are you getting soft on us, Chris? You go from blind hockey, underwater hockey to a margarita in your hand.
No, I'm still going to play hockey. Did you know there was a hockey rink in Puerto Rico?
I know, you told me.
Yeah, I know.
Let me tell you guys this. So this morning, I go to Starbucks after I work out. I went to the park. Did I tell you guys I went to the park and worked out? And but I went to Starbucks and I'm sitting there having a cup of coffee, and this guy pulls in a convertible Lamborghini, and you can hear him coming down the street, right? Coming down Fulton, and he pulls into the Starbucks at Morgan and Randolph, and man, what a nice car I got. And it made me think. I was like, I'm not sure what he does, but I know that in real estate, if you're looking to really make some money, that it's possible in real estate. I mean, look at Matt. Matt's rich. He's laughing.
Sometimes.
The problem with owning a Lamborghini is you're compensating for shortcomings in other areas.
Hey, so here's you're just jealous, Chris.
No, I'm not.
Here's the next thing that happens. So this guy pulls in a 911 convertible, pulls in next to the Lamborghini, and he looks over at the Lamborghini, and the expression on his face was like, "Shit, I need to go car shopping."
Yeah, but that's so
I was
bogus.
dying.
So what are you going to do with a car that goes 200 miles an hour? If you're going to race.
In Chicago.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
Chris, in Chicago where you have potholes and you got every block, you got it's ridiculous. If you if you want to do that, go out to Vegas or California, spend the $2,000 for the day and rent it for the day. I mean, listen, I look at a guy like that, Mike, and I say, you're an idiot. I don't care how much money you have. That is a waste of money.
Thank you, Carl. I mean, I used to race cars, and I had a funny car that went 250 miles an hour, and that was the second most fun thing I've ever done.
Yeah, but it wasn't on the streets of Chicago where you have potholes and.
I know that, but that's the point. It'd be kind of funny to pull your parachute going down, one of the freeways in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the south of France or in Italy or somewhere, but that cracks me up. But anyway,
All right.
to each his own. To each his own.
We're to the end, Matt. What do you got to say?
About what?
Anything
About buying a Lambo.
Get us out of this hole so we can close this show.
Go check out this 3-day. You're gonna learn so much. Like commercial is kind of where it's really at. Like I took some some multifamily courses in the past, and I've really made the jump. But it's kind of something I want to get into going forward, because that's where I heard the real money's made. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'll be there.
Good. All right, perfect. Well, listen, hey, Matt, Chris, thank you so much for filling in this morning and being here. It's always good to talk to you guys, and we don't get together enough, that's for sure. So I'm glad you guys were here this morning. And Chris, why don't you tell people how they get a hold of you if they have tax questions or IRA or insurance, however you can help them?
Sure. Go on to munsonfinancial.com. That's MUNSON financial.com. Just there's a lot of places where you can book a call with me. Be happy to answer any questions. There's no charge or anything. I've been doing this long enough where, it's just fun to talk to people. So munsonfinancial.com and click any of the little red book a call now. Thanks. Widgets.
Hey, Matt, how about you? If people want to invest with you or get involved in what you're doing?
Yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, just email me. It's mattmesick@gmail. So mattmesick@gmail.
Perfect. All right. Hey guys, I'll send you this video and tag you guys on Facebook, and I'll send you the raw stuff because we don't edit this one on Saturday, but I'll send you the raw stuff when it comes up on Zoom and tag you guys on Facebook so you can post it on your page. And Carl, man, is it good to see you? I'm glad you're healthy, man. What are you doing this weekend, Carl?
The kids are actually in New York. I was supposed to go to New York. My daughter was getting done with a 6-week ballet training with the Russian ballet, so they're picking their sister up.
Okay.
So I'm just hanging out. I'm doing some stuff around the house, and if anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me at Carl, CARL, at yourfocusguy.com. But other than that, Mike, I'm just kind of hanging out this weekend.
And I just want to say that I'm really proud of you, Carl. You finished that Napoleon Hill training. You got certified as a certified Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich trainer. You're coaching people around that today. That's your focus guy. And make sure that if you're looking for some mindset, a little kick in the butt, Carl's your guy. And make sure you reach out to him. Hey, you want to go for a bike ride today? I'm going to go down to the lakefront.
How long do you go? Do you go for a long way?
Yeah, from my house, it's a long way, Carl. It's 4 miles to the lake from my house, but I could meet you over by Oak Street or something.
Why don't you give me a call later? What time are you talking?
I'm leaving as soon as we hang up. I'm going out.
When we get off the air, call me.
I will. Okay. Hey, everybody,
Okay,
thanks for being here Saturday morning, Multifamily Unplugged. You know what? Today was just kind of laid back. Next week, we have a guest. I don't know who it is, but somebody will be here. And Carl and I will be back, if nothing else. If you guys need me, you know how to get me, mycoreintentions.com or Mike at mycoreintentions. If you want a copy of Exit Plan, go download that for free at mycoreintentions.com/exit plan. And I look forward to seeing everybody. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out, DM me, DM Carl, and we will see everybody next week. Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Thanks.
Thanks.